Welcome to English Poetry with Tanya, where we break down poems simply, clearly, and meaningfully. You might hear some traffic noise in the background. I don't have a fully soundproof setup. So thank you for bearing with that. Today we are going to study Daffodils by William Wordsworth, also known as I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, which is also the first line of the poem. You will see that. Before we begin the poem, it is very important to understand the poet himself because Wordsworth is not just any poet. He is one of the most influential figures in English literature. William Wordsworth is considered one of the pioneers of Romantic movement, which began in the late 18th century as a reaction against the emphasis on reason and logic and strict form that dominated earlier poetry, especially during the neoclassical period. William Wordsworth, along with S.T. Coleridge, shifted the focus of poetry towards emotion, nature, and individual experience. In fact, his work, Lyrical Ballads, their work, joint work, is often seen as the starting point of romantic poetry. One of Wordsworth's most important ideas is that poetry should reflect the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. But these feelings should be recollected in tranquility. This means that poet is not just about immediate emotion. It is about reflecting on emotional experiences, especially those connected to nature. Nature for Wordsworth is not just a background setting, it is a teacher, a healer, and a source of deep emotional and spiritual insight. He believed that even simple natural experiences, like seeing flowers, could have a lasting impact on the human mind. Another key concept in Wordsworth poetry is memory. He believed that experiences in nature do not end when the moment passes. Instead, they stay in our minds and continue to give us joy and comfort later. All these ideas are beautifully captured in this poem. Okay, now let's begin the poem, the analysis of the poem line by line. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over valleys and hills. The poem begins with the speaker describing himself as wandering alone like a cloud. Here we see a simile, lonely as a cloud. This comparison is very important because a cloud is isolated, floating freely, detached from the world below. This reflects the speaker's emotional state. He is alone, drifting, and somewhat disconnected. Here, the tone is calm, slightly melancholic, and the mood is quiet and reflective. When all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Suddenly there is a shift, all at once, indicates suddenness and surprise. The daffodils are described as a crowd, a host. Here we see personification. The flowers are given human qualities as if they're gathered together like people. Golden is just brightness, warmth, and happiness. This marks a clear turning point in the poem from loneliness to connection. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. The setting has become more vivid. We have lake, trees, breeze. The phrase fluttering and dancing is personification. The flowers are not static. They're full of life and movement. Movement. Mood shifts to lively, joyful, energetic. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. Now the poet expands the image. Here, daffodils are compared to stars, so it's simile. This suggests vastness, infinity, beauty. The scene becomes almost cosmic. They stretch in never ending line along the margin of a bay. The flowers appear endless. We have hyperbole here, exaggeration to emphasize the abundance. 10,000s I saw at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. 10,000. It is not literal. It shows how overwhelming the experience is. Tossing their heads. We are continuing with the personification. Sprightly. Sprightly means lively and energetic. The daffodils are not just present, they are expressive. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. Even the waves are dancing, but the daffodils are more joyful. This comparison highlights the emotional impact of the flowers. A poet could not be a poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. Gay means happy, and jocund means cheerful. The poet cannot help but feel joy in the presence of such beauty. This reflects a key romantic idea that nature is directly influencing human emotion. Okay, nature influences human emotion. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. Here, repetition is there. We can see the repetition of gazed and gazed. This shows deep absorption. At that moment, he does not fully realize the importance of this experience. Wealth is metaphorical, it refers to emotional richness. Now comes the most important shift in the book. For oft when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, later when he is alone, much later in life, in fact, vacant, empty mind, pensive, thoughtful, the memory returns. The flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. Inward eye refers to the imagination or the memory. This is one of the most important romantic ideas that mind recreates experience. Bliss of solitude, it suggests that being alone is not negative. It can be peaceful and fulfilling. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. Even in absence, the experience continues to give joy. The poet's heart metaphorically dances with the flowers. This shows lasting emotional impact, unity between nature and a human. Now let's step back and analyze the poem as a whole. In the beginning, the tone was calm, slightly lonely, and in the middle somewhere we find joy. So the tone becomes joyful, energetic, and at the end it becomes peaceful and reflective. And mood, similarly, it starts reflective then joyful, then silly. The poetic devices that have been used here. Simile, for example, lonely as a cloud. Personification, we see dancing daffodils, the waves. Hyperbole, 10,000, that was hyperbole. Imagery, we see visual imagery, movement based imagery, and repetition, like gazed and gazed. The themes here are power of nature, role of memory, solitude as positive, emotional healing. So, this is not just about daffodils. It's about how simple moment in nature can transform our inner world and stay with us long after the moment has passed. And that is what makes Wordsworth such a significant poet. He teaches us that even ordinary experiences can have extraordinary emotional value. If this helped you understand the poem better, subscribe for more clear and detailed poetry explanations. Thank you.